know how much money you will need to open your own cafe or bar. It's not just the rent or the furniture. You have to think about the volume of sales each month so the business can pay for itself. What is the payback period? How long will it take? When will I start making profit? The simplest way for a business to answer so many questions is to find the break-even point. In this lesson, we will discuss the break-even and what it means and how to calculate it. The break-even for a business is the point at which total revenue equals total expenses. At this point, there is no profit or loss. The business is at break-even. It is a financial goal because the break-even point tells us how much money you will need to spend and for how long it will take to repay the initial investment. After that point, your business will become profitable. Every additional sale will contribute to your profit. Calculating break-even point has a number of benefits. It helps to understand the ability of business to be profitable, to determine the volume of sales you need to cover costs. It helps to determine price per unit and make smarter decisions which should be based on facts. And it helps to catch all expenses and manage your cash flow. Before you grab the calculator, you will need to know your fixed cost, variable cost, and contribution margin. Fixed costs are the expenses regardless of the volume of production, like rent and labor costs. Variable costs change depending on the volume of production, like the more staff during peak hours or periods and increase or decrease to supplier costs. This will change depending on production levels. And contribution margin, this is the selling price minus variable cost per unit. It measures the contribution of each individual unit. Break-even can be calculated in two ways. The total sales a business needs to make to cover costs, or the number of units the business must sell to cover costs. In sales, this calculation shows the sales needed to break even. In other words, the amount you need to sell in order to cover the costs. That measure is calculated by fixed costs divided by contribution margin. Break-even can also be calculated in units. Your break-even point is equal to your fixed cost divided by your sale price minus variable costs. This calculation shows a business the number of units it must produce to break even. Break-even point is a simple analysis. It relies on fixed and variable costs not to change, and for contribution to remain static regardless of volume of sales. That said, in real life, it's a little bit more complicated. Here are the most common pitfalls or limitations of break-point analysis and what to keep an eye on for. Fixed costs may change. For example, the cost of rent or labor cost may increase. Competition and the potential impact of their actions on your business. If you decrease your price to match your competitor, you will need to make more sales or sell more units, and the demand for your product or services may change with time. There are a number of strategies to lower your break-even point. Firstly, minimize fixed costs where you can. The lower the fixed cost, the less products or services you will need to sell. You could renegotiate your rent until your sales increase and lower variable costs. For a new business, lowering variable costs may be less easy option, but generally, as you scale up your business, the easier it will become. It might be worth trying to negotiate a better deal from your suppliers or even change suppliers. Another option is to improve your internal processes, increasing efficiency to reduce variable costs. I recently went to a cafe for a takeaway coffee and I was horrified watching how much wastage occurred because I know the impact it has on cash flow. The barista was using paper napkins to clean his hands between every coffee and using disposable wooden stirrers in every drink. Over 365 days, this really adds up. So consider increasing the price of your products or services. The contribution per unit at the higher price will be higher. Therefore, you will need to make less sales to break even. Remaining competitive in the market is important, so do your market research to establish what is the market prepared to pay for similar products. Now is the time to grab the calculator. I have attached formulas that you can use to calculate your break-even point. Download it after this lesson. Here are the 3 important messages to remember when calculating break-even. The break-even point shows how much money you will need to generate in order to repay the initial business investment. Know your fixed costs, variable costs, and contribution margin. And break-even can be calculated in two ways, by the total sales or the total units.